All right, and we are live, man. Welcome to another episode of Talking Sports with Manny. Today capped off the first day of the NBA playoffs. It was nothing short but amazing. Um, all the games were pretty good, even the games that got out of hand. So let's start off with the first game. Um, this game was the Raptors versus the Brooklyn Nets. This game, if you didn't watch the game, it wasn't all that good. But I want to take away some things from this game. But I'm gonna show you guys some highlights of Fred Van Vliet. This guy right here is just unbelievable, man. I believe he gets paid this year. Real talk. So let's dive in with his highlights. Give me 1 second to get this going. The dude was just phenomenal, man. I believe he made 8 threes this game. Dude was bananas, man. He's a walking bucket. And another reason why I like Fred Van Vliet is the guy plays very good defense. If you remember last year's finals versus Steph Curry, he was out there playing some solid defense. So let's look at the numbers, man. He shot 11 for 15 from the field. He made 8 threes. He shot 10 of them and made 8 of them. The guy is just a straight bucket, man. And he had 30 points tonight. Obviously, the difference maker. You say, well, he's playing the Brooklyn Nets, but when you look at the numbers, man, even his plus minus, he was plus 14. He only missed 4 shots all game. The guy was phenomenal, man. Kyle Lowry had 16. Didn't really have a good shooting game. He shot 3 for 14. Gasol had 13 points, and Anunoby had 12. And Anunoby's a guy who I believe he's a solid wing. He can defend. He can shoot. So Anunoby is going to be key for the Raptors going forward. I think that the Raptors are the best team in the East. That's just my personal opinion. Everybody says, well, what about the Bucks? The Bucks are solid. The Bucks are great. The Bucks have Greek freak. I get it. But to me personally, Toronto has 8 guys that can give you 20 on any given night. You got Siakam. He had 18. So Siakam, Anunoby, Gasol, Lowry, Van Vliet, Ibaka, Powell, and okay, well, that's 7. That's 7. So 7 guys who can give you 20 at any moment of the game. The Nets really didn't even have any answers, but what they did have was they shot the ball pretty well today. There's a guy named Timothy Luau Cabarro or something like that. Can't pronounce his name, but the dude made 6 threes, man. He's a guy that's been bouncing around the league, and he's finally found a home. He's finally going to stick with this team out. He had 26 points. One thing that the Nets do is they play hard. They shoot the ball very well. If we all remember that game versus the Trailblazers, man, these guys were making shots. Joe Harris, another guy who's going to get paid this year. Kurus, Jared Allen, Temple, Levert. Levert is a monster, man. I believe that Levert is going to be even more dangerous next year with KD as well as Kyrie being on the floor. So I'm going to get to some more highlights, but personally, obviously, the Raptors are going to sweep the Nets, in my opinion. But, things to take away is they're playing well. Guys are auditioning for next year's pairing with Kyrie and KD. So that's that, man. Let's get into the next game. The next game of the night, I'm going to kind of go in the ranks of where I rank these games. So the first game that I just talked about, the Nets and Raptors, wasn't a great game. Whatever. The next game on the list, I'll probably say the 76ers and the Boston Celtics. That game was amazing. Let's look at the numbers. So to me, Al Horford starting this game, you would think that he would give the Sixers more. You know, Al Horford is making over $20 million a year. You'll think that, he'll give them a little bit more. They say he plays great defense, but there was really no bigs for him to defend. So that kind of eliminates what Al Horford does best. Al Horford had 6 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Not amazing, not great. He did make some big shots at the end of the game. Celtics won this game, obviously, 109 to 101. Tobias Harris, another guy who I believe is overpaid, man, overpaid. Tobias Harris had 15 points. Joel Embiid had 26. Now, Shaquille O'Neal challenged Joel Embiid to be a guy who, plays inside, and in that way he can create for everybody else. Losing Ben Simmons hurts the Sixers a lot because I felt that if they had Ben Simmons, they do match up well with the Celtics. So Embiid had 26 points. He shot 8 for 15 from the field. He hit that 1-3. He missed 3 free throws, 9 of 12. Not bad. He had 16 rebounds and 1 block. You need Joel Embiid around 35 points a game if they have a chance to win this series or even win games in this series. So 26 from Embiid is too small. He has to be around that 32 to 35 points a game to give the Sixers a chance to win this thing. Then you have Richardson, man. Richardson, he's solid. You see that they're trying to use Richardson as a point guard. That's not working out. This is a similar problem to what the Lakers have. Having LeBron running point, but when LeBron goes to the bench or if LeBron is hurt, who then is your point guard? Rajon Rondo just came back, but that's besides the point. The point is the Sixers don't have a guy that can create shots for everybody else. Shake Milton, who has improved his three-point shooting. He shot 3 for 5, 13 points. But then you look at the bench. Alec Burks came up big. So that's something that they can build upon going forward, going into game 2. Alex Burks had 18 points. He got to the line. He made 5 free throws. He didn't really necessarily have a good shooting game, but somebody had to shoot. I mean, you got guys like Mike Scott, 2 minutes, 0 points. Korkmaz, 7 minutes, 0 points. That Thibault guy, I like his defense, man. He had some pretty solid defense against what's his name, Jason Tatum in the game. So he's really in for defense. So when you look at this bench, the bench is terrible. They don't have pretty much any guys who can create for themselves besides Burks. So moving forward, man, you're going to need something out of the bench. But let's look at the Celtics bench before I break down everybody else's box score. The Celtics bench, man, everybody says the Celtics are deep. To me, honestly, the Celtics are not deep. They're not a deep team. When you look at the Celtics and you look at the bench, you got Grant Williams, who's a rookie, undersized power forward. He's in the game to kind of like guard some of the big wings. Other than that, he has no purpose. He played 2 minutes. Enes Kanter, who's great at offensive rebounding, and he can score in spurts. But this game, he played 8 minutes, 0 for 3 from the field, 0 points. So he was not a factor. Then you have Reggie Williams, center, non-factor. Wanamaker, solid guard, defensive guard, can knock down some open threes, but not a factor. Then you got a guy like Marcus Smart who played 32 minutes, who's known for his defense, but who was he guarding? What did he do defensively that put an impact, that put a stamp on the game? He didn't do anything. He had 32 minutes, 0 for 5 from the field, 2 points. Marcus Smart, that's your big money guy. Then outside of that, you have Green and Ojeleye, guys that are not necessarily factors for this team. So the Celtics bench has to improve. If the Celtics want success moving forward, second round, they're going to have to produce off the bench. The bench gave them 8 points. That does not get it done. But for the fact that you played the Sixers who are undermanned, you were able to get away with that. Jason Tatum had an amazing game, 10 for 21 from the field, 10 for 11 from the free throw line. He had 13 rebounds, 32 points. Solid. Then you got Jaylen Brown, who had 29 points, 5 big threes. Jaylen Brown was that guy that was giving them big three after big three after big three when they were losing leads and things of that nature. So Jaylen Brown was big time this game. 29 points, was perfect from the free throw line, 6 rebounds, played solid defense. But I really believe that the Celtics need more in the front court. They're one of the only teams in the league to start three small forwards. in their starting lineup. It's a unique lineup. The Clippers do something similar, but Paul George and PG and Morris. So with the Celtics, they kind of got away with it. Like I said, they played a team that the Sixers had no match. I mean, Al Horford, who was Al Horford guarding? Al Horford is starting alongside Joel Embiid. So is Al Horford, is he guarding Tatum? Is he guarding Hayward? So this matchup is just kind of like, it's kind of funny because if you're the Sixers, you would think that they'll go inside, right? And bang with these guys. But it just didn't happen that way. Kemba Walker came up big towards the end with a big 19 points. Didn't make any threes. Hit 5 free throws. His turnovers were down. 1 turnover. One thing I can say that the Celtics did this game was turnovers. They had 7 turnovers the entire game. When you get 7 turnovers, when you commit 7 turnovers the entire game, you're bound to win. I mean, that's pretty much the game right there. The Sixers had 18 turnovers because they had no point guard. Who was playing point? Tobias Harris tried it. He was terrible. Richardson tried it. He was terrible. Shake Milton tried it. He was terrible. So the Sixers had nobody who can create for them. And, on the opposite side, Celtics did. So that was the difference of that game. So we're going to go into the next game. I feel the very next best game was the Jazz and the Utah Jazz versus the Denver Nuggets. Now, it's debatable. You can say that this was the best game of the day, but you'll see why I said what I said. So let's look at the box score. When you're looking at the box score, the game was close throughout the entire game. I was shocked that Utah was able to hang with Denver. I felt that Utah was undermanned. They didn't have a lot of guys who could score. Losing a guy like Bogey, brought him in from the Pacers. He played in Washington, and he's a very good player, a guy that averages 20 points a game. And then Mike Conley had to leave and go be with his newborn son. So the Jazz were very undermanned. Let's look at the numbers. Royce O'Neal played 32 minutes, 3 points. Some guy named Morgan, never heard of him. He started in place of, I guess, Conley, and then they moved Joe Ingles to the point guard position. So Donovan Mitchell and Ingles took turns playing the point, which is what they've usually. They always do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's nothing different from the norm for them. They're used to playing Mitchell and Ingles at the point. But here's the problem. When you bring Ingles up or, you got guys missing, it messes up the entire rotation. So Gobert came up big. He had big 17 points, 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. Big game. You expect about 15 to 17 out of Gobert. I'm not expecting much more than that. Joe Ingles came up big. He's a guy that's solid, but is not known for scoring, but he can score, especially playoff Joe Ingles is amazing. That defense he played on Paul George some years ago, amazing. So Gobert played 42 minutes. Ingles played 43 minutes. Mitchell played 43 minutes. So these boys are going to be tired come game 2. And, with this bubble, everybody being here, it's like literally games every other day. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys play as the series goes on. Joe Ingles had 19 points. He made 5 threes. He shot 12 of them, made 5. Solid. They needed that. That's where the offense was coming from. It was really Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles. I'm going to get to Donovan Mitchell in a minute. Joe Ingles got to the line 2 times. He has to get to the line more. Somebody else has to get to the line besides Donovan Mitchell. Now let's get to Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell had a big game. 57 points. That's crazy. 57 points, and he literally kept his team in the game. Okay? He shot 33 times and made 19 of them. That's a great percentage. Now, he shot 15 threes and made 6. Not bad, but not great. He was 13 for 13 from the free throw line. He had 9 rebounds, 7 assists. So Literally, Donovan Mitchell was the offense. Donovan Mitchell was the team for Utah, and he only had 5 turnovers, which is not great, but it's not bad. I mean, having a ball in his hands and his usage in this game, 5 turnovers, that's okay when you're scoring 57 points. Now we look at the bench. Yang had 7. Solid guy, nothing special. Bradley, terrible. This guy was missing so many like wide open layups, man. 11 minutes, 0 points. Clarkson, he's a guy that I made a joke about because he had those extension, those braids. And I said, look, Clarkson has to get back to the normal Jordan Clarkson. Sometimes how you feel predicts, how you operate. Some of these guys that are not used to having froze and things of that nature, maybe it's best to not have it, be normal as much as possible. So he got back to his normal self. He cut his hair, and guess what happened? He had 18 points. He was literally the offense for the Utah Jazz coming off the bench. He shot 8 for 17 from the field. He shot 9 threes and only made 2. I believe if he could have given them just a little bit more scoring, they would have had a chance. But I mean, when you put up 125 points, you think that's enough to win the game. So the game went to overtime, and obviously in overtime they fizzled out. They were outscored by 10. They ended up losing 135 to 125. Moutier gave them nothing. The Jazz is another team that lacks a bench. In the playoffs, it's all about what the reserves do. We know what the starters are going to do. We know what the stars are going to do. But what is the bench going to give you? That's the key right there. So let's break down what the Denver Nuggets did this game. So Paul Millsap, he's in the lineup. I don't understand why Paul Millsap is in the lineup. I really don't. But he played 29 minutes. He shot 30% from the field. He had 8 points. Okay. I watched some of this game. I couldn't watch the entire game, but I did watch some of the game. When Millsap was in the game, he didn't have much of an impact. Michael Porter Jr. This is a guy that it's trending towards stardom. This guy is going to be a superstar when it's all said and done. Now, he had 13 points, 5 out of 13 from the field, made 3 threes, shot 40% from the 3. Not bad. Had 8 rebounds. Solid. 31 minutes. Craig is a solid small forward that's I think he's about 6'7", 6'8". So they use him. They start him at shooting guard, but he's really there for defense. He was able to give them a little bit of offense this game. He shot 4 for 7 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, 11 points. Gave them 4 rebounds and some solid defense. Okay, but he always gets caught in the air and commits a lot of fouls. So that's his only knock, is that he's always finding himself in awkward positions sometimes. Jokic had a great game. He had 29 points. He played 42 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field. Shot 4 for 7 from the 3. That's amazing. Anytime Jokic gives you 4 for 7 from the 3, you're most likely going to win the game. He made all of his free throws. He had 10 rebounds and surprisingly only 3 assists. We know Jokic as a power forward / center who creates for his team. So he didn't have his usual assist game, but he did have a solid game. 29 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. I'll take that any day of the week. Now, Jamal Murray had his coming out party. Jamal Murray is a point guard that scares me. If my team is playing Jamal Murray, he scares me because he knows how to control that pick and roll game. He knows how to find a shot. He knows how to move around and get into spaces to where he can dominate. So in this game, he made big shot after big shot after big shot. It was literally the Jamal Murray fourth quarter and overtime show. He had 36 points. He shot 20 shots, made 13 of them. Shot 6 for 9 from the 3-point line. That's the difference right there. I made all of his free throws and had a huge 9 assists, including 5 rebounds. So Jamal Murray was that dude. Now, off the bench, man, Denver was able to get a lot of production off their bench. Plumlee, 2 points. I get it. Grant had 19 points. That's huge. You get 19 out of Grant off the bench, you're most likely going to win just about every single time. Not only that, Monte Morris had a great game. He had 14 points, very efficient 14 points, played 29 minutes, 6 for 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from the three, and had 4 assists. He's a point guard that does not turn over the ball. So here he is giving you a plus minus of 10, plus 10. But not only that, he controlled the game when he was in the game. He made great decisions. He was able to score, and he was smart with the ball. Between Grant and Morris off the bench, that was literally the difference for this game to go along with Jokic and Murray. You look at the bench for Utah compared to the bench production from Denver. That's the difference. That's the difference of the game right there. The X factors in this game was Grant and Morris coming off the bench. Now let's get into the last game of the day. This was to me, the most intriguing matchup in the first round for me that I was really interested in seeing. There's 2. One is the Mavericks and the Clippers, and then the other one is going to be a matchup for tomorrow between the Pacers and the Miami Heat. But let's dive into how this game went. It's fresh off my mind. I just got done watching this game. The Clippers won 118 to 110. It was a pretty good game. I felt that Dallas had a great chance to win this game. Dallas would have probably won the game had the unicorn not been ejected. Kristaps Porzingis was ejected for something stupid. Literally, the 2 technical fouls that he got were nuts. And to remove a superstar, you can say superstar for Dallas. He might not be a superstar to most, but he's definitely a superstar caliber player for the Dallas Mavericks. And the minute that he was taken out of the game just went south, okay? Up until that point, Porzingis had 14 points. He played very well. He was out there, making threes. He was out there defending. He had a block. He had 6 rebounds. And when the Clippers, to me, when they play teams that have size, they're going to struggle inside. But the Clippers are known to have the best perimeter defense, right? They say that Paul George and Kawhi Beverly, they are some of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Then you can toss in Morris in there. And then, you can come off the bench with some other guys here and there. But for me, I believe if Reggie Jackson is starting for the Clippers, it gives that offense a punch. It gives that offense some flavor. When Beverly is in there, yes, he's good perimeter-wise, but in terms of scoring, the offense is stagnant. What does that mean for the Clippers? That means a lot of playmaking for Paul George, a lot of playmaking for Kawhi, which is going to limit their ability to play defense. Now, let's break down the numbers for the Dallas Mavericks. Max Kleber, that guy was useless, man. The dude played 34 minutes, 3 points. Now, he did have occasional solid defense against Kawhi and a few other players, but when he was in the game, he was a minus 20 on the plus minus. I don't look at the plus minus a lot, but the guy was not doing anything good when he was on the floor for the most part. Had 6 rebounds. Other than that, he did nothing else. He missed literally almost all of his shots. He didn't make 1 3. Congratulations. Kristaps Porzingis played 20 minutes. He had a solid game. He missed a lot of threes that he normally would make, but he was able to get to the line. He was 7 for 9 from the free throw line. Had 14 points. Solid. Okay. Finley is a guy, when you look at him, he's a solid defender. He can knock down the open 3. He's the kind of guy that would fit perfectly with the Clippers, but he's on Dallas. I really like his game. He had shot 4 for 9 from the field. Played solid defense versus Kawhi and Paul George. Those are 2 tough guys to defend. A lot of times you're not going to stop Paul George. You're not going to stop Kawhi, but you need guys that can defend. So that's why he was in the starting lineup. Had a solid 9 points. Missed a lot of his threes. He was 1 for 5 from 3. Porzingis 1 for 4. Max Kleber 1 for 5. Right there, that's a lot of misses between just 3 guys in the starting lineup. Now, Hardaway had a good game, but he got a little 3 happy. He started shooting a lot of stupid threes after a while. He played 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field. Not bad, but from 3, 4 for 11. A lot of the threes that he was shooting, I guess when Luka was out the game, were not smart, okay? So his shot selection wasn't great. He did have 18 points. Now, Luka Doncic, man, or Luka Doncic, can't pronounce his name. I think that's how you say it. But Luka shot very well from the field, 13 for 21. But one thing about Luka was he was getting beat up. He got beat up a lot. And in the game that started with him getting, knocked down on the ground, his ankle, his leg, his shin, his chest, his rib, his sides, I mean, they really beat him up. And even Paul George said at the end of the game, he said, Luka's not a guy that we come in with the mindset of stopping. Luka's a guy that we're going to try to beat him up and make it, harder for him. As the series goes on, let's take a look and see how Luka is absorbing all these hits that he's going to be getting from various defenders. Now, Luka did have 42 points. He got to the line a lot, man. He was literally unstoppable. When you get to the line, mind you, the Clippers have the best defenders in the world from what people are telling me, right? But what I was noticing was Kawhi and Paul George were not guarding Luka. The way that this game was going, it just seemed like whatever Luka was throwing up was going in. So they used their energy more on offense. They let Beverly be the guy guarding them. I saw so many defenders trying to guard Luka, but it was the same result every single time. They had no answer for him. Get into the line 15 times, made 14 of those. He didn't shoot the 3 well, but he always seems to make that big 3 that kind of changes the entire game. He did have 11 turnovers. That was just bananas. If let's say he cut the turnovers to 5, maybe Dallas wins this game. But 11 turnovers, that's not going to get you a lot of wins. Kid Gilchrist came in and hit 2 ugly threes. His shooting form is ugly, but hey, it works for him. Boban came in the game. That's the 7. I think he's 7-3, 7-4. Came in the game, gave them some solid minutes. Played 13 minutes, 8 rebounds, 2 points. They have to find a way to get Boban more minutes. Boban was more effective than Max Kleber was today. And I believe that you can play a matchup of Boban and Porzingis together and probably get more success than Porzingis and Kleber. That Kleber is just not working right now. And I understand why he has to play because of the way that the Clippers play. They play 3 small forwards, 3 wings with a center and a point guard or a guard. Seth Curry had a great game. Shot 5 for 11. Made 4 out of 8 threes, 14 points, solid. I would have loved to see him get a little bit more minutes, but he did play 33 minutes. I mean, how much more could you ask for? Where's the minutes coming from? Because Luka plays a lot of minutes. And then, like having Hardaway, Curry, Luka, that can be something that they could explore more, getting more shooting out there, more quickness. And Seth Curry's an underrated defender. I love his defense. He was a guy that everybody wanted in free agency, and Dallas was lucky to get him. Trey Burke came in the game, 20 minutes, did not have an impact at all. He did play some solid defense. He blocked I forget who it was, but he had a very nice block. He did compete, but in terms of production, he didn't give you anything. But his plus minus was great. He was a plus 14. So Dallas has a lot to work on moving forward. Carlisle will have to kind of figure out how to stagger minutes, making sure that Luka or Porzingis is in the game at all times. And they got to play smarter. Now, the way that the game started, Dallas was up 18-2. They got after Luka real tough. Luka was flustered. And you kind of was watching the game, you're thinking that the Clippers were going to run away with this. But obviously, that didn't happen. The NBA is about runs. And starting the game 18-2 means nothing in the NBA. Now, an 18-2 run in the fourth quarter, that's a whole different ball game. So they were able to get after it. The Clippers' offense did not look great. They kind of struggled a bit. Even if you look at the Clippers' bench production, Lou Williams had 14 points. Didn't have a typical Lou Williams game, but he did have some nice plays here and there. Reggie Jackson was just terrible. 16 points, 0 for 5 from the field. Montrezl Harrell, first game back, you gotta get your feet wet. He hasn't played basketball in about a month, so I can't fault him for his lack of production, but he did have 6 points. Jermichael Green had a solid game, 5 points off the bench, 18 minutes. So the bench really didn't give you much other than Lou Williams. Now, as the Clippers get more comfortable, you're going to see a lot of Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell pick and roll. That's where a lot of the Clippers offense do come from when they're clicking on all cylinders. Now, as we dissect more of this Clippers game, Kawhi Leonard, how can I put his game? He didn't have the best of games. He hit some free throws at the end that kind of like elevated his overall numbers. He did have 29 points. He was solid. Kawhi is always efficient from the field. He shot 11 for 21 from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. As a defender, you want Kawhi to shoot threes. When Kawhi is shooting threes, it bodes well for the team that he's playing against. He was perfect from the free throw line. He didn't get to the line a lot. It was a weird game for Kawhi, just from my assessment. He did have 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, solid all around. A lot of those steals came in the first quarter when they were flustering Luka Doncic. Morris was the MVP for the Clippers, man. To me, this was the best game for Marcus Morris for while he's been on the Clippers. He played 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field, made 3 threes out of 6. So 3 for 6 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. That's huge. So he was a factor on offense and defense. I think he had the biggest plus minus out of any player for the Clippers. Zubac had a very good game. Although he played 22 minutes, he was 5 for 9 from the field. He had 10 points, 10 rebounds. Now, 10 points, 10 rebounds is, solid game. Anybody who gets you a double-double in the game is solid. But those 10 points, 10 rebounds were bigger. Zubac only had 10 and 10, but it felt like 20 and 15. That's how much of an impact he had. He was there battling with Porzingis. He was there, rebounding, blocking shots. He was very, very solid for the Clippers. The Clippers later on had to go smaller to kind of close out the game, but Zubac was a huge, huge factor for these guys. Beverly had a terrible game, although he did make 2 threes. Those 2 threes bailed him from having an absolute terrible game. He had 8 points. He shot 3 for 6 from the field. But like I said, those 2 threes saved him because he was having a terrible shooting game. He had 5 rebounds. He had 3 offensive rebounds. Those 3 offensive rebounds were key, and they came at critical points of the game. Paul George had a great game. 10 for 22 from the field. 4 for 11 from 3. He could have shot better from 3, but Paul George is Paul George. He had 27 points, so he was solid. But if Morris and Zubac didn't have the games that they had, I don't think they win this game. Matter of fact, if Porzingis does not get ejected from this game, the Clippers probably don't win this game. So the Clippers were able to win, and in the playoffs, it's all about winning. It doesn't matter how you win. Some games, some matchups are different, but I felt that this was a matchup that the Clippers were going to struggle with. Somebody told me that the Clippers were going to destroy Dallas. Look, even if the Clippers win in 5, 6, 7, Dallas is going to make it tough for them. I just like the combination of Luka and Porzingis. That's just a special, unique duo right there. There's no duo in the NBA quite like Luka and Porzingis. So other than the Lakers, LeBron, AD, Luka, and Porzingis is a very, very, very unique combo right there. So I felt that the Clippers were going to struggle. I felt that Dallas would have used their size inside, but they didn't. Dallas, they do shoot a lot of threes, and when they're making threes, they're hard to beat. So that was an exciting game. That was my favorite game of the day. That's been a matchup I've been waiting for. Clippers, Dallas. Do not be surprised if this goes 7. Now, I can also see the Clippers winning in 5 or 6, but it's going to be a tough matchup. It's going to be an exciting matchup. And like I said, if Dallas is making their threes, then you best believe the Clippers are going to be battling. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Be sure to reach me on Twitter. Let me know if there was anything I said that's crazy. Man, we can go back and forth. I love talking sports 24/7. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at TS with Manny. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, TS with Manny. I'm also on Facebook and YouTube, Talking Sports with Manny. Appreciate you guys for listening. For those who came in and listened live, I appreciate you guys. For those that are going to listen to the audio version when I put this out on the podcast, I also appreciate you guys as well. Y'all be blessed, and I'm out.